Have you ever looked at a big exam question, one with a bunch of marks, and just wondered, where do all those points actually come from? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're pulling back the curtain and breaking down a single GCSE maths question, piece by piece, using the official mark scheme. Our goal? To see how you can lock in every single one of those marks. All right, let's dive right in. So, we're looking at what seems like a pretty straightforward question about filling up a paddling pool. But you know as well as I do, with these maths questions, the real challenge, and more importantly, the marks, are all buried in the details. So yeah, it's a 4-mark question. And look, getting the final answer is only one part of the puzzle. The real key here is showing your process, because the examiner is marking your method just as much as they're marking your final number. So how do we make absolutely sure we get all 4 of them? Okay, the very first thing you've got to do is just stop and deconstruct the question itself. Before you even think about touching your calculator, you need to pull out every single key piece of information that they've given you. So what are the vital stats here? First up, the shape is a cylinder. We've got the dimensions, a radius of 100 centimeters, and a depth of 30. We're also told the fill rate. It's filling at 250 cubic centimeters every single second. And then there's this last bit, and this is a big one. The final answer has to be in minutes, and it has to be rounded to the nearest minute. Seriously, don't forget that last part. It's such a classic way to trip up and lose an easy mark at the very end. Right, let's get our first mark on the board. The most logical place to begin is to figure out just how much water this pool can hold. In other words, we need to calculate its volume. This one calculation is our first chance to score a point.
And here is exactly what the examiner is looking for. The mark scheme gives out what's called a P1 mark. That's a process mark, just for showing the correct formula for the volume of a cylinder. That's pi times the radius squared times the depth. Just writing that down, showing you know the process, gets you that first mark.
Okay, so you punch that into your calculator, and it spits out this big number, just over 942,000 cubic centimeters. Now listen, here's a pro tip. Whatever you do, do not round this number yet. You want to use the full, unrounded answer from your calculator for the next step. It's absolutely crucial for keeping your final answer accurate. We've got the volume, so let's move on and bag our second mark. The next logical step is to figure out how long it's going to take to fill that massive volume at the speed they gave us. And you can see how these marks build on each other, right? You get another process mark, another P1, just for showing you know what to do next. You take your volume and you divide it by the fill rate of 250. This tells the examiner that you get the relationship between volume, rate, and time. And you know what? You'd still get this mark even if you made a tiny mistake in the first calculation, as long as the method here is correct. So when we do that division, we get this number, about 3,770 seconds. We're getting closer for sure, but remember what the question asked for. It wants the answer in minutes, so nope, we are not done yet. All right, on to the final calculation step, converting our units. This is a super common part of these multi-step problems, and getting this right is what earns us our third and final process mark. And there it is. The mark scheme shows that the final process mark is given for taking your time in seconds and correctly dividing by 60. This one step shows the examiner that you followed the entire problem all the way through to the very end. That calculation gets us to 62.831 and so on minutes. Okay, we are so close now. We have shown all the right steps, we've picked up all 3 of our process marks. All that's left is that one final accuracy mark. This is it, the final hurdle. And it's not actually about doing more math, it's about presentation. To get that 4th and final mark, the A1 or accuracy mark, we have to give our answer in the exact format the question asked for. Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. The question didn't just ask for the time. It explicitly said, give your answer correct to the nearest minute. I mean, that's a direct instruction. If you ignore it, you're just leaving that final and honestly pretty easy mark sitting on the table. So here it is, the last simple step. We take our value, 62.831. The question wants the nearest minute. Since that digit after the decimal point is an 8, we have to round up. And that right there gives us our final answer, 63 minutes. And check this out, because this is why showing your work is such a brilliant safety net. The mark scheme actually says it will accept a final answer anywhere in the range of 62 to 63. Why? Well, it's to allow for small differences, like maybe you used a slightly different approximation for pi. As long as your working is correct and your final answer lands in this range, you get that final mark. It is the ultimate proof that the method is what truly matters. So,
After breaking all of that down, what is the single biggest lesson here? What should you remember when you're staring down a question just like this one in your exam?
It's this simple. Show you're working. That final answer, 63, it's only worth one single mark. The other 3 came from the process, from the journey you took to get there. By laying out each step clearly, you're not just solving a problem. You're telling the examiner the story of how you did it, and you're collecting marks for every single chapter of that story.